Okay, hello everyone, and welcome to BeamNG.drive. So this has been a video I've wanted to make for years now, actually, and I've only just been able to because BeamNG has been updated. They have, well, they keep on updating, obviously, but they have worked a lot on making it run smoothly, essentially. I forgot the name. Optimization, that's the word. And so I've wanted to make a video on BeamNG.drive for many years now. And I've only just been able to because I'm here at home on my quote-unquote gaming, very old now, but old gaming computer, which has allowed me to actually properly run BeamNG, thanks to the update. And so that's what we are going to be looking at here today. We're going to be looking at Phompsonby. If you've watched my Sprocket videos, you'll have heard the name Phompsonby crop up many times by now, actually, as I've shown you various armoured cars and tanks and things that they made during the war. But this is where Phompsonby originated, in the game Automation, which allows you to make your own cars. And I'm not a particularly big car person. I don't know a lot about cars, but I still, enjoy automation and making cars. And this is where Phompsonby originated, and this is my company Phompsonby, which I have invented, and these are their cars that they have made. And I'm now going to, show them today to you. So this is the car that we're going to start with. So a brief history of Phompsonby. In the beginnings, they were a steam engine manufacturing company called, I think, Phompsonby Steamworks, most likely. And then they turned to motor cars, and at the turn of the century, they started producing motor cars. Well, I say turn of the century, roughly around the time Ford started making his Model T. And they started making motor cars in Britannia. And this is the first motor car they made. This is the Phompsonby family. Which is, their very first car. There's the, automation chassis, which shouldn't really be there, but hey, that's how it is. There's the tiny engine. If we are to, get under here, as you can see, very small inline 3. I can't exactly remember the specs of the engine. I think it's something like 40, 50, 60 horsepower or something like that. Very little inline 3 engine, question mark. That's an inline 4, never mind, ignore me. Inline 4 engine, there's the tiny little gearbox, and yeah, this is their first ever car, and I like the old cars, if you couldn't already tell, from my various games and things. But yeah, I prefer the old cars, and so that's what I'm best at designing. And this is the first ever car I made in automation, I think, at least it was one of the first. And so this is the family, the Phompsonby. If we get into, which one would it be? That's not correct. Get me in the driver's seat, man. Enough for us to go straight into the water. But yeah, I'm still very new to actually playing automation here. Bit annoying because I've set WSAD to drive, and that's also camera controls, but never mind. So yeah, this is the family. Seats, family of 4. Deployable, roof at the back. Nice little bits and pieces that I've added thanks to Gizmo's props to the most part. Well, I say to the most part, this is all Gizmo's props. And yeah, I built this many moons ago, but hey, it's pretty sturdy. Look at it go. And yeah, there is the Phompsonby logo. If we reset, go into free cam. There you go. There's the Phompsonby logo. This is where the old roundel and wings originated from. This is actually just one of the winged automation logos, but yeah, as you've seen on the Sprocket vehicles, the Phompsonby logo has got like an RAF roundel, wings, and the Phompsonby lettering. This is where it originated from. The Phompsonby lettering is hand put on there actually, using the automation lettering decals. But yeah, so that is the Family, the first ever car that I made for Phompsonby. And if we look in here, I've got quite a few Phompsonby vehicles. All of these things, but we're not going to look at all of them today. We're going to go through some of the early models. This is going to be essentially the rise before the fall of Phompsonby. This is another pretty early car. This is the Economic, which is essentially a cheap car for the people, as you can see. It's not going to be as fast. It doesn't sound quite as nice, perhaps. It's got a similar sort of inline-4 engine, but this one definitely, I think, does have only 40 horsepower or something. Plenty of luggage storage on the back because, well, I wasn't sure what to do. Spare wheel, as per usual, and then various lightings and fixtures and bits and pieces for the people. As you can see, definitely not as fast as the Family. It doesn't sound as nice, it doesn't look as nice, it's generally just not as nice as the Family. But it's in white, because, you know, everyone loves a nice economic car in white. Fuel filler cap back there, automation chassis is poking through, which it shouldn't do. There you go, top speed of, you know, 40-ish miles an hour. This does have a third gear. The automatic gearbox type is not letting me change to it, but it wouldn't be as fast as the Family. It'd be, you know, 5-10 miles an hour slower, perhaps, something along those lines. But yeah, generally just not as nice as the Family. Cheap car for the people. There you go. Yeah, not as sturdy either, by the looks of it. But yeah, that is the Economic. I didn't mean to click on mods. Get me out of here. I can't remember exactly which way around these go in terms of year made, but the Commercial is another early one, which is essentially a lorry, a pickup truck lorry, transport vehicle. Here we are. Littering hasn't quite transferred over properly by the looks of it. Yeah, it's meant to say, I think it's meant to say greengrocers, I think. Something on those lines. Let's say Mac and Son. Oh dear, oh dear. Yeah, it's meant to say something like Mac and Son Grocers S1818 or something like that. But as you can see, this one hasn't quite worked out properly there. The wheel sort of broke, which they're not meant to do. Yeah, there's a lot of wobbling going on there. If we turn, oh, we can turn. Hey, it's kind of working. But yeah, so essentially this is a sort of flatbed truck type hauler vehicle. It's got an engine tuned for torque rather than horsepower, which didn't really do all too much other than, well, lower the horsepower slightly and increase the torque slightly. 61 miles an hour, which is not as fast as the Family. But that's because, like I say, this engine is tuned for torque, not for horsepower. It can still do this though, and this is going to be a hard landing. Oh, we land on our wheels. There goes the front. Yep, oh, we got a wheel. We kept a wheel. But yeah, so higher suspension, various other bits and bobs and doodads. The wheels break if you turn too much, apparently, because, yeah, this is probably exported from probably about 4 years ago, the last time I exported this, because automation has updated by now, and it has broken all of the previous automation designs, and none of the mods work anymore for the old versions of automation, so I can't even go back and change this, unfortunately. It has to remain in this partially broken state, but it does have 2 spare wheels. It's got this nice wooden backing on there. And yeah, that is the Commercial. So if we have another scroll through, we can look for some other particularly old designs from the 1910s to 1920s. Here's one. The police car, which it's a police car. Don't know what you want me to say there, but hey, here we go. old style police car. It has got, I think, a tuned version of the old inline 4 engine, which is what came standard pretty much with every Phompsonby vehicle. They all have an inline 4 or an inline 3. It does have 2 lights at the top. What is lights? That's a good question. I can't remember what the button the lights are. KL? No? J is pause. Okay. But yeah, the lights light up with, I think, the headlights, which is a bit of an oversight, but, I mean, look at us go. 4 gears, 72 miles per hour top speed. No criminals getting away from you with this one. So, yeah. Nice fast police car. It doesn't have an actual siren in BeamNG here. Also, the wheels aren't turning for some reason. But they don't appear broken, just they don't want to turn, probably due to the automation chassis. But yeah, it is essentially just a police car. Yeah, a pair of lights up the top to stop the criminals. Oh, we're sliding. That's not ideal. But yeah, it's a pretty nice old pre-war, I say pre-war, pre-Great War police car that you can go ahead and be using to catch crims and lock them up in your community, as Top Gear says. So that's the police car. And if we look at one more, which is, I do believe, it's not the standard. If we instead look at the Power Max. Now the Power Max is, so Phompsonby has got 2 different divisions. It's got the regular car producing division, and then it's got the racing division. And I think you can guess where this one comes from. So this is part of the racing division, and I think that law-wise, this was in development for 10 years. There's the noise. There's the engine. It's got a V8, I think that is. Yeah, that's a V8 engine in there. So yeah, it's got a big old V8 in here. It's kicking out an unrealistic amount of horsepower, 400 I do believe. I can drive it in camera mode, but we're not going to do that. Instead, we're going to try and control this beast because it is incredibly unwieldy. 10 years in development, and yeah, it's not got any traction. It wheel spins, and it's quite the powerful beast. Does sound pretty cool though. Although, oh, I thought we'd glide over that. Although it doesn't like turning at high speed. One of the many flaws with the Power Max, for all of its positive, let's say. For all of the positives of the Power Max, the negatives are pretty heavy. Yeah, lots of wheel spin, incredibly difficult to control, according to the drivers. And yeah, it's generally a pretty difficult thing to tame, especially at speed. I mean, this is the view you have as the driver. Yeah, it's not a particularly easy view. However, if we can find where's the banking in this area, I think the banking's all the way over there. Yeah, it is. If we can just drive ourselves over to the banking, we can get an idea of what this thing was like actually on the track. Because at least in England, you may potentially, I was going to say perhaps and potentially, and they sort of merge together, but you may be aware of the famous Brooklands racetrack, which of course is gone now. However, that was all about the banked tracks and the bank circuit, and here we have actually got some bank tracks and bank circuit, which I'm coming from a very odd angle here. But here we go. Come on, Power Max. Off we go. There we go. So, yeah, we can bank around all of the bank circuits in the Power Max. Once we're actually on straightaways, it's pretty easy to control. Please tell me that's a bank. Yes, it is. Thank God for that. I thought I was just going to wreck the entire Power Max, but no. We're on the banking. There you go. Once you're actually on the banking and turning, you can sort of keep it at top speed. We're doing 129, which is about the top speed of the Power Max. It is pretty fast, as it should be for 10 years in development, kicking stupid amounts of horsepower out of this goddamn massive engine. But yeah, once we're actually on the racetrack, we're pretty set. It's just a case of getting onto the banking and getting yourself up to that speed without crashing. But now that we're here, we can nice and simply bank around, as you should do in an old race car. There you go. Let the banking do the turning for us, which is very nice indeed. So there you go. That is the Power Max. The first sort of foray into motor racing. And you know, I can't remember the victory losses I gave this thing. Let's not crash. Yeah, I can't remember what exactly I said the rankings of this thing are. I think it came first once in a race, once in a world championship or something. But yeah, the actual first place victories of this thing wasn't particularly great for how much work went into it. But that's all within the law. So the last vehicle for during the 1910s, 1910s would be the ambulance, which, as you can see, is a particularly interesting looking specimen. That's because it's for the war, essentially. Yeah, outbreak of the war, obviously 1914 to 1918, as I'm sure all of you will know already. But yeah, this is the ambulance that I made in automation for Phompsonby, which they sent over to France to help. Well, they manufactured and sent over to France to help the army. So the front's a bit dented for some reason, not too sure why, but hey, there we go. So we've got the International Red Cross, which it's illegal for me to put that on there because the Red Cross has deemed that any depiction of a red cross in the video game industry is illegal. So I am actually committing a highly illegal act according to the Red Cross, but hey, we're all war criminals here, so but yeah, so it's got a modified engine again, which is to do with torque. It's got off-road tyres and various other things like that. Off-road suspension, I think, as well. Oh, that's a pretty nice jump. This isn't going to be a nice crash. Ow. Do we still go? Oh, we still go. I'm not sure we should do, though, considering that's down there. But yeah, essentially, many of these were manufactured, sent over to France to help retrieving wounded soldiers and transport them around, hence the higher suspension rates, the off-road tyres, various other bits and pieces such as the increased torque. And from all accounts they were perfectly fine. They sort of did what they could do in the mud and shelter and whatever, and yeah, after the war lots of them were sent back and either converted or scrapped. So yeah, this is the ambulance, and it works, you know, perfectly fine, as you would expect from a Phompsonby vehicle. I did start building an armoured car in automation, but then the game updated before I ever finished it, and I sort of wasn't able to finish it. And that design's now been lost to time somewhere, probably. However, I did make it eventually in Sprocket, which you've all seen if you've watched, well, any of the videos it's been featured in. But yeah, so that is all of the vehicles from 1910 to 1920. Next episode, if you can call it that. Next episode we're going to be looking at vehicles from the 20s, which is going to include the Wagoneer, for example, the Standard. You've got the successor to the Power Max in here somewhere, which is the Green Arrow. You've got sort of the Limousine, the Long Star, which is very nice. It's probably one of my best vehicles. You've got the Everyman, the Mark II family. Lots and lots of things to show in the next episode, and if there is a desire for it, I will put a link to a Google Drive in the description, and I'll upload the BeamNG files two there that you could just download and use as you want, and probably eventually upload them to somewhere official, such as the BeamNG repository or something along those lines. So yeah, that is going to be it for this episode of BeamNG. I'll thank you all for watching, and goodbye.